All right. Let's see if this is working. Looking at the wrong thing. Where'd I go? Where I need to go? Yeah, they're making this difficult there. Boom. Hello, hello, hello. Where'd I go? Where I need to go? Yeah, they're making this difficult there. Hello, hello, hello. All right. I got flabbergasted for a moment. We're here for a rarity on this channel. It might be a new normal. That's very to be determined. But we got a 2-in-1 video every Friday for the past 2 years plus. It's been a Ring of Honor TV review. Now, there's been several occasions where it's been on different days, a la like today, because ROH changes their upload schedule. We'll get into that when we get to it. But the main thing here, because I don't want to like discourage y'all, but the main thing here, this is a 2-in-1 video. We're going to combine, we're going to have one long video. We're going to start off with the episode 117 ROH TV review, and then we're going to transition into our AEW Double or Nothing 2025 predictions. A very exciting pay-per-view coming up this weekend. I'm really looking forward to it. And we'll provide my predictions following the ROH TV review portion. So the first portion of this video, going over ROH TV episode 117. Second portion of the video, which will more than likely be a good chunk of it, the Double or Nothing predictions. If you just want me to be honest with y'all guys, I apologize for not doing a retro review this week. But the reason I'm apologizing goes into part B. I've had a lot of technical issues this week, a effing lot of them. Once one gets done, another one pops up. It's very discouraging. There's a lot of words I could have used. That was the first one that came to mind. So the point here is I'm here. We're doing a 2-in-1 video. Like I said, this might be a new normal. Depends on how this one really goes. But we got a ROH episode to go through, and we got a AEW pay-per-view to predict that I'm very excited to do. So we're on Fight Forever. Y'all know. Let's go ahead and start with the ROH TV review portion. As, again, last week I said, maybe next week we'll have a normal upload, a normal schedule. Nope, I screwed myself. I even looked immediately after uploading last week's episode and immediately knew I messed up because I saw that Collision was going to be on Thursday, which it was, and then that means that ROH was uploaded on Friday. But for y'all that care, this was another free episode on YouTube, so y'all don't have to have Honor Club to watch this episode. And I will admit, as an Honor Club subscriber, it's kind of bothering. It kind of is a bit bothering, but they used to make it up by uploading classic compilations every Thursday. That way, like, hey, you're not only getting a new ROH TV episode, you're getting a classic compilation upload. They've been slacking over the past month, and I felt this is a perfect time to call them out on that. But let's get through this quick episode of ROH TV. Like I said, it was a quick episode on YouTube, and we kick it off hearing from our women's champion, Athena. It has been a while since we've seen her on ROH TV. It's even been a while since we've seen her on AEW TV. I believe the last time she was there was the Mercedes Mone match, which obviously was a big deal. Probably, I'm not going to say it could have been a bigger deal, but I wish that she was on TV more, and especially ROH TV, because she's the damn champion. But she's here now, not going to complain, and she gets straight to the point. I'm paraphrasing and adding more words to what she said, but again, I'm paraphrasing. She's not here for no bullshit. She is here to enter Billie Starkz into the women's pure title tournament that is coming up, with the logic behind it that Billie won the last tournament for the women's division in Ring of Honor when she became the first women's television champion, and believe that she could do so again for the women's pure title. And the reason that she's not there herself to announce this is that Athena has her at home doing her homework in hopes that she brings the gold back to her. So another entry into this women's pure tournament, and we'll find out a matchup a little bit later on. as our first matchup tonight was Marina Shafir versus Laney Luck. And I will admit to y'all, when I saw this match graphic, and I'm seeing Marina Shafir has been competing a lot more on ROH than I would expect. And, she kind of fits the pure wrestling style, if you just want us to be exact. I would not be that surprised if she is in the tournament. As of right now, she is not entered. I would not be that surprised if she enters the tournament. That's just a bit of speculation on my behalf. But she puts on a dominant performance against Laney Luck with many submission attempts, including a triangle choke, arm bar, and a Darce choke. Luck is able to turn a roll-up into a crossface, but moments later, Shafir traps her in the mother's milk chokehold with Shafir. Pick up a victory in preparation for her big matchup at Double or Nothing. Next matchup was Gringo Loco versus Blake Christian. There's no code of honor due to Christian attacking Loco. Loco is able to land a split-legged moonsault off of the off the top rope for a 2 count. Both battle then on the second rope, where Loco is slammed onto the top turnbuckle, and Christian follows it up with a DDT through the ring post. And once back of the ring, lands a standing moonsault and a hurricanrana off of the second rope. And then delivers a 450 foot stomp. All of that only to get a 2 count. I thought that was a foot stomp. 450 foot stomp could have ended it, but that was not the case. Loco was able to land a Spanish fly off of the top rope that also could have been the end of it, but it was not, as it only gets a 2 count. And then Christian hits a reverse rana and the vanilla choke, which I hate that name of it, and I feel that they should just call it the last chancery to pick up the victory. I would say this was probably the match of the night. There was not really many to pick from. I would probably say this was the match of the night. Another Pure Rules match, Queen Aminata versus Allison Kay. Now, my favorite thing with these Pure Rules matches, an underrated note of these Pure Rule matches, we'll put it that way, is when they tell us or show us who the judges are. And most weeks, there's no damn judges at ringside, which was the case this week, but credit to Ian Riccaboni because he does mention that there are judges for this match this week, including Pat Buck, Dean Malenko, and Jerry Lynn. So there were judges, and I mainly get excited because Jerry Lynn most of the time is a judge, and I get to do that bit. But we have Queen Aminata versus Allison Kay. Kay uses her first rope break attempt early after Aminata locks her arms behind her, and she grabs it with her foot. Then a second one comes quick after an Aminata crossface. Then once she pops up, Allison Kay lands a closed fist and gets a warning for it. It becomes more of a physical matchup at this point as they battle on the outside with chops. Aminata in the ring lands a big headbutt followed by a figure 4 leg lock that she turns into an arm wrench to pick up a victory and to give her more momentum for this pure title tournament that is coming up. And I mentioned that they did announce a matchup for this. And the first matchup that we know for this tournament, one that has been brewing legitimately for months, almost since like February. I thought that it was lost and they forgot about it, but our first round matchup, our first round matchup, say that 80 times, will be between Serena Deeb versus Queen Aminata. And then they showed a video package of the Sons of Texas defeating the Crew on last week's Collision, which was a very sad but hilarious moment where Collision got... Y'all know my saying. I hope that y'all know my saying. Behind every joke is a little bit of truth. So it is definitely a joke, but it's the truth is real. But the match got, nobody saw the match because Collision got cut off early, and I don't know how many people went out of their way to go watch it after that. But the Sons of Texas, our Ring of Honor Tag Team Champions, are facing the Hurt Syndicate for the AEW Tag titles. If it was me, I'd make this a title unification bout. That way we could get the Hurt Syndicate, spoiler alert, on ROH TV. And also, we're legitimately coming at the 1 year mark of the damn Sons of Texas being Ring of Honor Tag Team Champions. So let's get through this main event matchup on ROH TV, episode 117, a CMLL Trios Tag match. Featured Hechicero, Barbaro Cavenrio, and Volador Jr. challenging Atlantis Jr., Neon, and Fuego. Volador Jr. and Fuego start the bout off, with Atlantis being triple teamed once he tags in. Neon tags in to hit a springboard arm drag. Cavenrio lands a pop-up dropkick on Fuego for a 2 count. Atlantis Jr. gets triple team once again, but eventually fights him off and hits a dive onto the outside onto Volador. Cavenrio's DDT on Atlantis gets a 2 count, and then Atlantis reverses his springboard attempt to hit a Canadian Destroyer and Frog Splash, meaning that Atlantis Jr., Neon, and Fuego won this bout. I feel that every time freaking Atlantis Jr. is in a match on ROH TV, he's going to win. And I kind of wish that Hechicero was involved in this matchup a little bit more. But again, another quick episode of ROH TV, and I will be the asshole to speculate. Look, when we get these the one positive with these quick episodes is the reviews don't take that long. Granted, we're almost like 10 minutes in, but I done told y'all this is going to be a longer video because it's a 2-on-1. But I kind of feel, and this is just me speculating, I kind of feel that the shorter episodes are kind of to prepare for an eventual TV deal. Because if this was like a TV episode on like national TV, it would be like 45 minutes. And then once you fill it in with the commercials, it would make it an hour. Because if you go back and watch these older TV episodes, they're like 45 minutes. And then obviously when it's on TV, it's an hour. So maybe I'm just overthinking it. Maybe they're just lazy and don't care. Because that could definitely be the case as well. But another quick episode of ROH. As now we are here for the AEW Double or Nothing predictions. I will admit, AEW TV, this is going to sound like an asshole statement, and I kind of, I gotta get this off my chest, because I've been thinking it a while, but I haven't really had the time to say it. AEW TV has felt very repetitive, which I'm not the biggest fan of, and there's definitely moments that make me scratch my head, but I always know that once we get to the pay-per-view, that most of the time I enjoy it and don't have that many problems. That's not always the case, but this is a pay-per-view I am genuinely excited for, and I think will be fun. The key word is I think the show will be fun. And it's, this is the Royal Rumble to their WrestleMania, because All In should be their WrestleMania. Granted, I feel that it gets a bit weirder because Forbidden Door is going to be after it, which normally, we got a different pay-per-view schedule going on this year for them. But, I don't really like the repetitiveness. It also kind of felt a bit weird that we knew the Owen Hart tournament finals would be at Double or Nothing, but we had a good 3 to 4-ish weeks where we knew the finals for both sides. I thought that could have been spaced out a little bit more, but we got that good tag match with Hangman and Ospreay. It was last week. I was going to say this week, but that wasn't the case. But you get the point, Point being, and I've said this for quite a while for a lot of my AEW pay-per-view predictions, is that the TV, sometimes I'm not the biggest fan of, and I question it a lot. But once we get to the actual pay-per-views, I have fun watching them. And it's Double or Nothing. Double or Nothing is traditionally a fun show and a chaotic show. I think this will be another case of that. So the first matchup we need to talk about, one of the first matchups to probably happen on the night, because it is on the pre-show, Megan Bayne and Penelope Ford taking on Anna Jay and Harley Cameron. Megan Bayne is not one to lose in her time in AEW, so I'm going to pick Megan Bayne and Penelope to pick up the victory. We got a trios bout up next, as Moxley's just staring me down. This one, again, should be a fun one. Representing the Don Callis family, we have Kyle Fletcher, Konosuke Takeshita, and Josh Alexander taking on the Paragon. Adam Cole, Bebe, Kyle O'Reilly, and Roderick Strong. I'll be the asshole to say I don't really like this name. And I'm not going to say I would prefer they stay the Undisputed Kingdom. I can understand them changing the name, considering Taven and Bennett are not involved in this group, which I don't know when the last time a lot of people thought about them in this group. Point being, I kind of wish they had a different name. But I also, completely could have blanked and just said the Undisputed Era, which it's been a while since I've heard that name, so that's why I guess I didn't do that. That being said, I'm kind of delaying my prediction of this, as I'm also trying to freaking chase this asshole. I finally called him. I expect the Don Callis family members to win hope for it. I'm not gonna say it would. I don't think breakout would be the proper term, but I kind of hope that Takeshita stands out the most in this match because I feel it would benefit him a lot more since he has lost the international championship and then went on to lose in the Owen Hart tournament. So hopefully Takeshita stands out. Next matchup, I will admit, probably the matchup I am looking forward to the most. And it might not be the one you're thinking of. This is just a match, when I say it, which I already kind of spoiled it, if it's a match that you would not expect to see, and just saying it kind of makes you like, wow, this is crazy. But Daniel Garcia teaming up with Nigel McGuinness to take on FTR. It's just like, when you get the chance to see Nigel McGuinness compete, because you don't know how many times this is obviously going to happen, you know, you got to take it for granted. So, as much as I want Nigel and DG to win this bout, FTR are the proper tag team. They are the assholes in this situation. I'm expecting FTR to win this bout, even though I love if Nigel and DG pick up the victory. Another matchup that kind of got a similar circumstance to it. The first time in AEW history, a stretcher match will be taking place as Mark Briscoe is facing Ricochet. Now, this is where, you know, anytime that Mark Briscoe loses is kind of a sad day in my eyes, and I don't like when that happens, but I just feel that this matchup is going to be another case of that since he's already defeated him before. So I'm going to go with Ricochet to win this, even though not the happiest with that being the case. So I'm trying to also fight off Chris Jericho. That was a close one. Now I see the other person in the stands over there, so we're going to try to get as much health as we can. Next bout, tag team title match. I kind of spoiled this a bit earlier, but tag team title bout. The Ring of Honor tag team champions, the Sons of Texas, Sammy Guevara and Dustin Rhodes, which I also like that they've leaned into the fact that they are day one AEW competitors, and we're on the first Double or Nothing show. Going against the Hurt Syndicates, Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin. Now, if you want me to be very honest with you, I could see this being a situation to where Shelton or Bobby, probably Shelton, like they get a knick-knack injury and then they can't finish, and then MVP makes MJF like go in and finish and make sure, like, hey, are you in the Hurt Syndicate or not? You know, you gotta, if you want to be in the Hurt Syndicate, you know, you gotta do our stuff. And then I could see MJF getting involved in this match in that situation, because again, it's very weird for MJF to be healthy and not in a matchup, as this is a ironic finish over here. So I expect that to be the case, but regardless, point being, I'm going with the Hurt Syndicate to win, because at the end of the day, they hurt people, as he just got hurt right there. Next matchup. Women's title match. Toni Storm versus Mina Shirakawa. I do like that Mina Shirakawa has now signed with AEW. Is all elite, as they would say. Would be a bit crazy if she picks up the win. I can't even really say in her first match in AEW because it's obviously not the case, but it sounds better that way. Toni Storm's in a dominant run. I will also go on record and say that not only for the women, but for the men as well. Like, overall, I think that Toni Storm is putting up an all-time year and is my front runner in the Wrestler of the Year category. And I don't think that is that insane of a statement to say. Now, obviously, we have like half a year left, and a lot could change from now and then. But I think that she's kind of in the first place in that right now. And this will be another bout to add into that resume, as we have another title bout to talk about. Kazuchika Okada versus Mike Bailey for the Continental Championship. Okada, his entire AEW run, not counting his Forbidden Door New Japan matches or pre-signed to AEW matches, has been the Continental Champion like his entire run in AEW, and that is a bit crazy to think about. But he's just going to be adding on to it because I expect it to continue after Double or Nothing, so I'm going to go with Okada to win. I think this will be an interesting styles clash. I don't know how this match is going to look. I think that Mike Bailey is going to perform well and that Mike Bailey will have some moments and maybe a comeback, but I just think this is going to be a dominant Okada performance. But I'm going with Okada to win, obviously. Because now we have the big three matchups to talk about. Last year, they described it as a triple main event, which is understandable. Even though a lot of people hate when they describe things as that because legitimately there's just one main event. And it's funny because when I was doing a retro review, the last retro review of Death Before Dishonor, they called it a double main event. And one of the matches they were saying was one of the double main events. It was literally the first match on the show. So maybe that would be the case here for one of these. But the first one I felt to talk about, Anarchy in the Arena. It is returning. It's happening at Double or Nothing 2022, 2023, 2024, 2025. So it's Anarchy in the Arena 4. And this one is probably the most chaotic one because even more people and genders, if we just want to be technical with it, are involved. As we have the Young Bucks and the Death Riders, minus the Bastard Pac. And for now, and I want to say this in like a question mark form, for now, minus Gabe Kidd, versus the Opps, minus Hook, Kenny Omega, Swerve Strickland, and Willow Nightingale. So we have Kenny Omega, Swerve Strickland, Samoa Joe, Powerhouse Hobbs, Katsuyori Shibata, Willow Nightingale versus Claudio Castagnoli, Wheeler Yuta, Marina Shafir, John Moxley, Matt Jackson, and Nick Jackson. Wow, this will be crazy, like I said, because there's so many damn people involved with this. This is the one thing that I don't really like, this Young Bucks Death Riders partnership, because so many people are already negative on the Death Riders, and like when they appear on screen, and it's like, ugh, like this is the same shit every week. Adding the Young Bucks to it didn't really change anything. Now, when we've had these trios and multi-man tag matches, it kind of has a little bit, but it's just, I thought they could have done this matchup without the damn Young Bucks. That's kind of the simplest way to put it. I felt they overcomplicated it a little bit more, and they could have just done the Death Riders versus the Opps and Willow Nightingale, which I think they could have done that. Then we could have got we could have got Swerve and Omega versus the Bucks, because I felt that whatever direction we were going, it was going to be Swerve versus the Bucks, which even then, not overly excited about. I don't know. I don't like how the Young Bucks like inserted their way into this. I understand it because you don't want them involved in the tag title division every time that they're doing something, so it gets them out of that. But it's just, I don't think it's a partnership that meshes well. Now, maybe we get to Anarchy in the Arena, and that's a different case, and we just get a bunch of craziness, which spoiler, I think that's going to be the damn case. Now, the one thing that is an outlier here is that every time that they have done an Anarchy in the Arena match, the heel team has won. It happened in 2022 with the Jericho Appreciation Society, 2023 with the Blackpool Combat Club, and then last year with the Elite. So I've already marked it in pin. I think it's going to change this year. I'm going to go with Team AEW winning. Now, I kind of wish that the Gabe Kidd was involved in this matchup, and I think that I still think there's a chance of that happening, but I don't know why they would have him involved in the big title match a couple weeks ago and then not in this matchup. But maybe I'm just lying to y'all and something changes. So we'll see in a matter of hours. No, it'd be kind of a lot of hours still. But obviously, Anarchy in the Arena has had a history of being crazy. It is going to be very difficult to top last year's. I definitely think it's going to be a lot difficult to top last year's. I don't really think that 2023 surpassed 2022 when it came to the actual match. When it came to star power, yes. When it came to importance of the company, a little bit. When it came to last year, star power is kind of like an equal level compared to the other two. Overall craziness. We had someone sat on fire. Like, fire was legitimately involved in a segment, that match. So that's why I kind of feel that it's going to be difficult to top last year, so I don't know if that's really going to be the case. But again, we'll find out. But I'm going with This is the other thing that I don't like. When we have these like multi-person matches, I prefer there to be a team name. That way I don't have to go through every single person again. Like when we used to have Lethal Lockdown back in the day, Steve Squandron, Planet Jarrett, you know, Steve Squandron and freaking the War Games. I'm pretty sure it was a team name there. But I also don't really like it when it's like, oh, Team Swerve, Team Omega, you know. Kind of felt that you need some creativeness to go into it, but that's just me, sod barbing. But I'm going with the team of Willow Nightingale, Kenny Omega, Swerve Strickland, and the Opps to pick up the victory here. As I cannot jump on the part that I need to. As now, we have the two most important matchups of the night. The women's Owen Hart Foundation Tournament Finals involving Mercedes Mone and Jamie Hayter, the winner facing the women's champion at All In. And I would be very surprised if that women's champion is not Toni Storm. So we're kind of talking ourselves into Mercedes Mone versus Toni Storm or Jamie Hayter versus Toni Storm, which either match sounds fun, obviously. I think that if you think story-wise, because people care, and I'm saying this in quotation and sarcastically a little bit, but if you care about story-wise, we had two matchups with Jamie Hayter and Toni Storm in the past for the championship. I was going to say we've had three already, but one of them kind of feels forgotten because it was in the first Owen Hart Foundation Tournament, which again is a bit crazy to think about, but it would kind of be a full turnaround from the first two matchups that we saw. Like both Toni and Jamie have changed so much since then. The first time we saw Toni Storm in that matchup, it was regular Toni Storm. The second time that we saw it was Toni Storm, the Outcast version, which I think that we've done a good job of forgetting about that whole group. Not Andre and Big Boy, but you know what I'm saying. So I do feel that's a bit of an intriguing factor. It also would make it a big deal and like tie the knot because Jamie made her big return to AEW last year at last year's All In. So a 2-year return. You know, we're having to get very technical. As All In wasn't in July last year, but you get the point. So that is what I'm rooting for. Now, if we're in this industry to make money and not friends, as some people would say, if we're in this industry to make money, obviously Mercedes Mone and Toni Storm is a massive match to do. And I will admit that I'm kind of looking past this matchup a little bit to get to that All-In match. You know? Which is not really the smartest thing to do, and definitely not the way to think about it, but that's kind of how I'm thinking about it right now. So, I also don't... Look, I don't care if I come off as a Mercedes Mone hater, because, you know, I don't like seeing the same shit over and over again, so obviously I'm not... I know a lot more people are interested in this Mercedes Mone title run and belt collector shtick gimmick there. I kind of went asshole way in saying that. But to me, it doesn't feel like... What's the best... I don't know the best way to describe it. I don't really care about it. Let's put it that way. Now, what I'm going to get at kind of makes a little bit more sense, but I also don't feel it helps that she's the belt collector and has all these belts and recently just lost one, you know? Normally, when you start losing one, you start to lose most of them. That was the case with Eddie Kingston. It's the case with Kenny Omega. It's the case with Austin Aries. I didn't really want to say it, but it came to mind. So we've already seen her lose one. I don't know why. I don't see them logically adding another one to that. I also feel that she doesn't need the AEW Women's Champion. And we're just in this situation, and we've seen it for Mercedes' whole run in the company thus far, where she's been the champion the whole time. It's just like I said with Okada. He's been champion the whole time. With Mercedes Mone, That has also been the same damn case. And I also just realized something that really pisses me off. In my notepad, I wrote down Mercedes Mone versus Toni Storm. Am I foreshadowing? Not really. So this is what I'm getting at. I don't like seeing the same thing over and over again. With Okada, it's not the biggest deal because we don't see him enough, which, to be fair, is a problem on its own and not really worth it in the prediction standpoint. But when I had to come up here and provide predictions for this, and then you get to me predicting a Mercedes Mone match, I'm just used to her winning. Where we're now we're finally in a situation to where I'm really thinking about it, which is good on their part. But it's also going to get to me and this matchup happening and Mercedes Mone winning, and I be disappointed in it. Also, I'm a bigger Jamie Hayter fan than I am Mercedes Mone fan. That also has a lot to do with it as well. So I'm rooting for Jamie Hayter. I'm going with Jamie Hayter. I'm picking Jamie Hayter. I think the story, quote unquote, with Jamie and Toni is a little bit better than the one is more long term than the one with Mercedes and Toni. And that would be a big deal because it would be a title for I don't even really know if you would say that would be a title for title match. Because Mercedes doesn't have any reason to put the TBS title on the line. But if you also understand the standpoint that I'm coming from, like, when we're doing this belt collector stuff and we're adding all these championships, once you start taking away, you're not really supposed to add more, you know? So with already one being gone with the New Japan Strong Openweight Women's Championship, I can see that this doing favors and helping us out in the team, in the Hayter camp. So I'm picking Jamie Hayter to win this. Now, again, I give them credit. They have done a good job, because I always say that the best matches are the ones where you don't know who the hell is going to win. And these two Owen Hart tournament final matches are definitely fit that. And we have one more to talk about on the men's side of things. Our last match to talk about in the men's Owen Hart Foundation Tournament finals. Hangman Adam Page versus Will Ospreay, which again is another case of it. You really have to think about it. And Hangman Page was in the finals of last. This is kind of because I'll admit, I knew I was picking Jamie Hayter in that last match. I kind of knew who I was predicted in all these matches beforehand. I don't really know who to go with for this matchup. Because I think that a lot of people and everyone's leaning on Ospreay, and it makes me want to be different and makes me think that they're going to go the different route and go with Hangman Page. And my biggest factor with that as well is Hangman was in last year's tournament finals, and you would hope that he had picked up on something new to change and to win in this year's tournament finals. That would kind of be my main factor in going with that prediction. But I feel that all the momentum is on Ospreay's side. I think he is the best wrestler in the world right now and is on an incredible run, neck and neck with Toni Storm, and who's the best wrestler right now, and Jey Uso. I had to throw a joke in there somewhere. But it's definitely overthinking about it a lot. I will say that. I think I'm going to go with Hangman winning. Obviously, if Ospreay wins, I'm not going to be like, wow, they really did that. I'm flabbergasted. I'm shocked. I'm definitely not going to be in that route. But I don't think it helps Hangman to lose in the tournament finals in back-to-back years. But it also, you got to now, again, with winning, because normally when you won this, you only got a chance. Like for two of these winners, you only got a championship. Now, last year and this year, things change. You get the title match at All In. It doesn't mean it's going to be the main event, because you obviously can have two main events unless you label it as a double main event. But now, who the hell do you expect Jon Moxley to face? Now, I think that Moxley, Hangman, I don't really know how much you could say they've changed since their last bouts, because obviously they've added stuff, but like at the end of the day, they're kind of the same. Or when I was describing Toni and Jamie, the characters and what they've done since their last bouts have definitely changed dramatically. With Mox and Hangman, that's not really the case. With Hangman or with Mox and Ospreay, that's something new that we're getting at, but it's going to essentially be the same story we've been getting at with this freaking Death Riders versus AEW stuff, where Ospreay feels that he is the leader and he's the best and he's the one that needs to take Moxley down. Now, I'm only going to really talk about stuff that is on screen because there's obviously, what's the best way to label it? I don't want to say a rumor, but one X Factor that if he appears here anywhere, I'll say, hey, that's the X Factor. That's who I'm talking about right there. There. That I could see fantasy, because, look, all right, I'm just, bro, he heard me. I'm talking about you, brother. I'm talking about you. You get over here. Where'd you go? There he is. That's who I'm talking about. This man, Darby. Any day now, he can return. He was on a quest outside of AEW. And the last time we saw him, he was the one that was supposed to take Moxley down. A lot of freaking people think that too. And I don't know how much to believe and to think into that, because All In is the big show of the year. You're supposed to have All In should be where you have your big moment of the year. We got that last year with Danielson's title win. That obviously got soured immediately because he did not have a good damn title reign. He had one match with Jack Perry. He had a match with Okada that I feel gets thrown under the radar because of all the other stuff that happened. And then immediately Moxley became champion. And everybody has hated it. There's been some good moments, but like the bad and the like same old shit in it kind of brings it down a little bit, you know, if you want us to be honest. So, I'm not going to say this is fantasy booking, but what I end up seeing happening is Moxley winning it All In, and then Darby returning, and it being a big deal, and he's here to save the day, and then he ends up winning the title at Wrestle Dream because that show, I can't even really say that is the Darby Allin show, but it would help, and again, it's one of these things where you connect to the dots and looking at it. This whole Death Riders thing started at Wrestle Dream last year, and it would make sense for Darby to be the one to end it at Wrestle Dream this year, which even, to be honest, A, Wrestle Dream still hasn't been announced, so I'm kind of, overthinking that. But B, would mean that we really went through this for a whole year, which is a bit crazy to think of, and doesn't really help when you have two guys, mainly Ospreay, but you could definitely make the case for Hangman. Well, you have two guys that are big deals and realistically speaking could be the one that could have dethroned Moxley. Where with Cope, it kind of seemed it would have been temporary. I know that a lot of people were hoping that Cope won at Revolution, which I missed on both of those shots. Or Swerve, obviously Swerve meets all the boxes that Hangman and Ospreay do, but I kind of was like, you know what, I'm not that against Moxley being champ because we just saw Swerve with the title. I don't know how much different it's going to be this time around, and there's other people waiting in, the line behind. So that's kind of the issue here with us waiting for Darby per se, is that Ospreay checks all the same boxes that Darby does, and it would be a bit of them sacrificing Ospreay just for us to get Darby, which I don't know necessarily if that needs to be the case or it would be a good case per se, So that's the quote unquote issue here, if I'm being honest, which I don't know really if you can label that much of an issue. So that's where I'm a bit conflicted on who I see winning. I already looked down and did not realize that I picked Hangman to win. It's just, I think Ospreay's going to win. I'm changing my pick. I think Ospreay's winning. I think there's too much momentum on his side. I will say that the X factor in my pick and the thing that makes me think about it a little bit more is that Hangman did lose in last year's tournament finals. It would be a little bit, same old shit if he was to lose in back-to-back years. So I don't know. These are those good. First of all, the good matches are the ones where you don't really care who wins and you don't know who the hell is going to win. It's just like in the UFC. If we ever got Tom Aspinall and John Jones, I don't know who's winning that bout. I also, because I've been seeing the same old shit between these two and their talks, and it's Tom saying, I want to fight. I don't know why John doesn't want to fight. And John being, yeah, I need this, this, and that to fight. Oh, they're going to give me this, this, and this. Let's add on, I went on a side tangent there, sorry, but you get the point. I don't know who the hell's winning this bout. But my pick is for Will Ospreay to win. Will he beat Moxley? You'd have to wait until we got to the all-in predictions portion for that, because he might not. It's also another case, as I feel there's stuff for Hangman to do that is like built in, at least, for all-in. Where with Ospreay, obviously you could do anything with Ospreay because he's that great of a competitor, obviously, but it's just like nothing is really that built in for him for all-in, And if you want me to be honest, I don't know what the hell to expect for a lot of all-in. The only two things that you really could expect are these world title matches for the women's and men's division. So, and we'll obviously find out. We'll have a great clue of it after Double or Nothing ends. So, perfect timing there. Got through the predictions. Got through these Stadium Stampede matches. Did the ROH TV review portion about 30 minutes ago. So, and we're ending it right at 12 o'clock. So, I don't think there's much more to say. Again, sorry for the retro review. We've had technical issues all week. And this might be the new normal. Who knows? Time will tell. So, hopefully enjoy your holiday weekend. There is a extreme amount of crazy shit going on. That is the simplest way that I could put it, because I got stuff going on. The World of Wrestling's got stuff going on. Y'all might got stuff going on because holiday weekend, like I said. We still got the NBA playoffs going on and NHL playoffs going on. I was watching that Stars game the other night where they scored a bunch of goals in the third inning. And y'all might think that I'm joking. I'm not joking. I had it all on the channel when all that shit was going on. So, point being, enjoy your weekend. More than importantly, stay safe. Hopefully you like this video. Leave a comment on what the hell you think is going to happen at Double or Nothing this weekend. And I'll see you when I see you, because I'm out for now. Goodbye.